Hi there, I'm Kellee Malone with Reliable Realty and Property Management, and I am here today with Hector Delgaizo. And Hector, thank you for being on.
It's my pleasure, as always.
Hector, tell me how long you've been licensed as a realtor and acting as property manager.
Definitely. I've been licensed for 21 years, and I've been doing property management for about 10 years with your company, actually.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, it's been a long journey, but I'm loving it.
And how important do you think it is for the owners out there to know the value of hiring a property management company? Because recently you had a situation with some bad actors, and this could have turned into a disaster for the owner had you not taken all the steps you take to make sure the tenant is a qualified applicant. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely, Kelly. I think sometimes owners or property owners tend to take for granted how important it is to have a solid company like Reliable Realty handling the property management. And I get it. A lot of people, you know, fees can be a little burdensome on some people, but it's so necessary today to have a true professional representing you throughout this process. And I'm going to give you a quick example. I mean, just a few weeks ago, I listed a property in Corona, beautiful house, by the way, in Corona, in a wonderful neighborhood. And we've had quite a bit of activity and several applications. And we thought we had the perfect tenant for our client. And we were very excited to start reviewing the process, or going through the process of reviewing the application and the documentation that comes along. I mean, we're very thorough with all the items that we request.
Very thorough, absolutely.
And so as we started to review the application, we started to notice some discrepancies, you know, and so on the surface, everything looked that it was in perfect order. But certain things were not quite there. For one, in the rent spree application, certain things were missing that usually come along with a packet, and somebody who has no experience would probably miss that. And then we noticed, you know, in the process through communicating with the agent, that there were certain red flags. So I decided to look up the realtor on the DRE website. So
and normally, if it's a realtor sending a package in, we're kind of feeling more comfortable about it.
Absolutely, I
so
think
that's typically like not something to worry about. But in this scenario, you trust your instincts.
Oh, absolutely. You know, so normally you don't really pay attention too much to the realtor, but when we review the California Association of Realtor application, which is one of the things that we request, there were certain things missing that an agent would usually put in the application, right? And so that led me to do a little bit more research, and I've come to find out that the owner of the company had passed away 3 years ago, and that the realtor that actually drafted the application did not really exist.
Wow. Wow. Okay, yeah. So several red flags to start off with. I mean, that is, and so you were also reviewing the W-2. Now, would an owner typically know what they're looking for with a W-2 that's perhaps been altered?
You know, I don't know unless the owner worked for the IRS or was an accountant that they would actually notice what we caught. But there were several discrepancies in the W-2 form. And so we were able to catch those, and so that led us to do a little bit more digging. So when we received the additional documentation, bank statements, at that point we were realizing very quickly that, some of these things were being altered online, and it was hard to catch, but we were able to notice some of these issues, and we did get a copy of the ID, and this was the final nail on the coffin. When we searched the tenant's name on the website, on the internet. He was a felon, that was actually in jail up until the day before they submitted the application for drug charges.
Okay. That's scary, scary, scary stuff for an owner who would try to rent your property on your own and not know exactly what you're looking for. And recently, one of our other property managers had caught a bank statement that had been altered. And it was a pretty good alteration, but nonetheless had been altered, and so it caused her to check into other things and found a lot of other issues, a lot of other red flags. So, clearly we don't want those type of tenants. We're here to protect the owners. We're here to protect you. So one big reason, if not many, one big reason, if not many, to use a professional property management company. We have been in business since 2006, and we pride ourselves in doing a very, very, very thorough background check, treating each property like they're our own. If we wouldn't rent to the tenant, we certainly wouldn't have you rent to the tenant either.
Absolutely, and I think this is why it's so important for property owners to trust a company that has a good reputation and has extensive experience, because we saved our client thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know the full extent of what their intent was in the scam, but they were certainly ready to hand over a cashier's check and take possession of the property and potentially, request cash for keys or utilize the property for, who knows what.
Nefarious things. That's
yeah.
right. Okay. Well, thanks for being on today, Hector.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.